Hey everybody, happy holidays. So this week, week 9, and also a bit of week 10, is all about changing up my accessories a little bit, especially my lower body, but also my upper body, to really figure out what works the best for me. Not just adding accessories, but more like replacing them and moving them on different days to not impede my recovery, right? I'll talk about it more on during the day 4 portion, but I move some accessories around so it doesn't affect, for example, the main bench movement on the next day, right? Because the main issue that I'm trying to solve is imbalances, right, with my left and right leg, with my right leg being 2 inches bigger in circumference at the widest part, like almost 2 inches, basically 2 inches. So fixing that, making my left leg catch up a bit more. It doesn't have to be the same, but more make that difference closer. And then also, I think my right arm is also a little bit bigger than my left arm by like, I don't know, half inch to an inch. That's also something I want to fix, but it's not a big priority for me. Like, I don't want to focus on that and my lower body, and that's just too much. So I am doing single leg arm exercises, obviously curls and like some cable stuff for my triceps. I'll just do the same amount of sets for each. But starting week 10, but also a bit of week 9, I'm doing more of these single leg exercises to really figure out ways to really make my left leg catch up, right? Catch up because my left side is also a bit tighter. So also doing more stretching with the couch stretch that I started during week 10. I'll talk more about that. But really trying to do that once a day, even if just for 5 minutes. And I'm actually doing it right now. So I might sound a bit of like out of breath because it's really uncomfortable to really stretch my hips like that. But basically loosening my left side and making it stronger, so I get rid of my knee pain on my left side, which has been going away actually. So making that side catch up to my right side, so there's less pain, but also more importantly to me, so I can squat more, right? Because I realized that I can squat more with my right side if my left side were as strong as my right side. So really trying to make those two legs match. And then here you can see I'm still wearing flat shoes for my low bar squat, and my stance is still kind of shoulder width, a bit outside shoulder width maybe. Right after this day, starting week day 2, on this week, is where I actually start to put in my stance, like bring in my stance more, narrow it more. And then on day 2, you'll see I use plates under my heels to really engage my quads, because I realized the more quads I use in any type of my squat is actually easier, right? I thought maybe I need to take out my quads a bit more so I can focus on my posterior chain, let my posterior chain take over more. But if I do that, my squat is actually a little weaker, especially out of the hole, right? So that's really interesting. And really using my squat shoes, not my flat shoes, to really be more upright and allow me to drive with my quads a little bit more, and I can feel my legs more. And this applies to both high bar and low bar squats. And then incline bench fit okay. Gotta be careful with my grip on incline bench, because if I go a little too wide and do multiple reps, my right armpit and my elbow, kind of top of my bicep area, not elbow, but top of my bicep area, start to flare up. And that can affect my my comp pause bench, right? The next day in the gym. But yeah, that was my reps to failure. I'm happy with it. And then here's a video of me doing some pull-ups. I want to hit 10 pull-ups. So I actually bought a pull-up station, like not the pull-up bar for the doorway, but like a pull-up station where you can also do dips. It's about $160, but I really need to do some pull-ups every day, just a couple pull-ups every day, even 3 to 5 pull-ups. I think that will help me with my overall back and lat strength, right? So day 2. Now, before I go into day 2, for this week especially, and even a bit of last week that I didn't mention, I had to skip a few of my accessory because of like time. These gyms closed. Like, I'm going to different gyms because It's holiday season. They close early, or they just close for the entire like 3 weeks. So I had to skip a few of my accessories. Like day one, I didn't do the good girl bad girl machine, the abductor and adductor machine, because I didn't have time, right? So like I mentioned earlier about the incline bench, armpit kind of top of bicep pain. I think it's from mostly the incline bench, but also just any type of movement where I put strain on that part where I think my elbow flares too much or something like that. So that's why I don't really do any sort of wide grip bench anymore. I used to when I was like benching like 2 plates for like 3 or 4 or 5. That was when my regular bench pause or non-pause was actually a lot wider. Not a lot wider, but like an inch or two, which is a huge difference. But on this day, my bench didn't feel that good at all. Like I got 5 on my AMRAP at 2 plates, pause, which I was disappointed, right? It's funny because I did a lot better the week after, but I was happy in hindsight about my pause, right? Because on some of my sets, I wobble my pause, and I had that problem during week 10 on my top set on my AMRAP. So really trying to focus on pausing and allowing that bar to be static and not moving, and then bringing it up. The pause doesn't have to be long, right? I think, a quick 2 count, right? 1, 2, up, right? But sometimes I think I cut it a little too short, or I'm wobbling when I pause, right? So really need to keep into account how that works. So if I do it right more often, I think that can make my power off the chest better, right? But now, as you can see, my first time doing squats ever on these weights, which I've seen people do. I've never done them myself, but that's a really good idea. Really activating my quads more. So using those and the squat shoes, the Duin weightlifting shoes from Rogue Fitness that I got like 2 years ago, more or less. Weights didn't feel easier at this point, but what I realized was, in terms of 1 rep maxes, it might not feel easier, right? But definitely on like higher rep sets, my legs are being used more, so my back doesn't take over as early, right? So my leg is more in the equation, especially earlier in the set, so I can grind out a few more reps, right? So my form is not as compromised because of that, which I'm very happy with. I've been squatting with kind of a good morning squat, I think for 3 years now, 2.5 years, 3 years. I do this because I think around like early 2019, that was like almost 2 years, about 2 years into my lifting career. I switched from high bar to low bar, I think, and then around that time, that's where I feel like my quads start to be out of focus, or at least my lower back and my posterior chain grew tremendously, and or I grew some pattern from my low bar squats that made me squat like a good morning, right? And it's been hard to get rid of. But anyways, my best high bar squat on this program, but like overall, right, after these 4 sets before the AMRAP set, is 260 for 12 at this weight. And that was like, done, right? Like my back couldn't take anymore. But now I'm putting my legs more into the equation, so now it's 260 for 15, which is a big improvement for me, right? Because the rep target is 10, right? And 12 is what I was expecting, but I got 15, right? So that's going to increase the training max by quite a bit, which it did for week 10. And week 10 I did pretty well too, which I'll talk about in the next week's video. But yeah, you'll see after these squats, I did some leg press, and I supersetted them with heel elevated goblet squats, which I'm not gonna do again. Right here, you see, because I will still do the leg press. Like these were on day 4 after my pause squats, but I moved them to my high bar squat day on day 2. For like recovery issues with my sumo deadlift on day 5, which is the day after I do these, right? Because on this if I do these leg presses on day 2, I take a day off and I deadlift, right? And leg press doesn't interfere with my deadlift that much or at all. But then, like, I'm not gonna do these heel elevated goblet squats again because it's more like my stamina gives out way faster than my legs. Like, if my stamina was unlimited, I can do like 50 reps with these, right? So these don't really help that much. And I was trying to figure a way to kind of really trying to fatigue my quads and my legs and then do them, but these are still not that hard at all. But yeah, so I'm still gonna keep the leg press. I replaced these goblet squats, which is the first time I've ever done these. However, I'm replacing these with something else, which after doing them on week 10, because I'm recording this like midway through week 10, I'm going to keep those. Not a superset anymore, but I definitely found the best way to really make my quads sore, which is not that important, but making my quads feel like they're being worked right after, but also the day after, and just really growing them, right? But yeah, these were really tough. But really also learning how to go close to failure or fit to failure on leg press is very important. Like on these machines, I used to do like 3 to 4 plates, and I would think I'm going close to failure, but like it's really hard, but I'm not going to failure at all. And I hate doing more than 15 reps on these, so I went above like 5 plates, and I was able to get close to RPE 7, 8, 9, right? But after this week, I'm going to take my leg press stance a little wider to get a bit deeper range of motion. I think that's just better overall. So day 3, so this is also a different gym, and because of just holidays, but I'm learning to hone in my form better from that new form that I learned last week. Not completely new, but like some cues I talked about, right? Like bring my rib cage in front of my triceps to keep my chest up, or more like keep my mid back and my lower back straight, right? And then twisting my pinkies in, bringing my pinkies in, right? Rather than just bending the bar. And that really allows me to pull the slack better, a lot better on the first rep. The subsequent reps, not as well, but I think the most important one for me is the first rep, because I'm trying to hit a higher 1 rep max anyway, right? So yeah, I did increase my my over warm-up single to 405 rather than 395, because I'm getting closer and closer to a peaking phase, right? The last 7 weeks of program, I'm on week 9. I'm like halfway there. And also it's kind of weird that I have my camera there. Like everybody knows I'm recording, but I don't give a damn, honestly. I need to get these sets recorded, and yeah. But as you can see, for these triples, I'm really trying to think about those 2 cues, right, and applying them. But for the AMRAP, I don't really apply those cues past the first rep, right? And on this set, I was so happy to get 7, and I didn't really hitch the weight at all. I almost did, but I didn't. I don't think. My best is 375 for 8, fresh, like not doing those 2 sets of 3 before that, and no heavy single, right? That was back in like July or August, I think July, right? 375 for 8, and on this I got 380 for 7, which is I think better because I am already a bit fatigued from the sets before this, right? So I'm very happy, and I weigh about the same, so I'm pretty happy about that. Spoto press, see, I'm like ambivalent about this, because I on one end I know it's helping me with kind of the middle of my range of motion on bench, but at the same time I feel like I could find a different variation to help me better. I'm not too sure, but maybe like slingshot bench to overload my bench to get a feeling of heavier weights again, or like heavier weights with reps, right? Like I still do my heavy single at like 250 or 255 for my variations or my main bench movements, but maybe like 250 for like a triple, right? Or 250 for 5 even, if I'm doing slingshot bench, right? So I'm not too sure yet, but I know one thing that this variation has helped me think about more is pausing. I'm way better, I think, overall, and more consistent with pausing at the same spot without wobbling on Spoto bench versus my normal pause bench, right? And that's a problem I have with my pause bench, where I wobble on some of the reps. I pause, and I think on Spoto press I don't do that nearly as much because I'm constantly thinking about not having the bar touch my chest, right, and pausing right up on my chest. So that's one thing I got out of this variation. And then last thing I did, well, the last new thing I did on this day was plat squats. I learned this from Johnny Canedo's video. Did these 185, 3 sets of 15. First set was very easy, but the third set, my stamina was giving out. So after doing this, I thought about, and I'm going to try this, in fact, tomorrow on week 10, doing these on the Smith machine to be more consistent about depth going ass to grass. I do have to stand forward with my legs a little more, but I think I'm able to really focus on my quads and less on my other muscles taking over, right? And doing it more like a hack squat, right? Because that machine, you're literally going straight up and down, right? There's no way around it, so it's more like a hack squat machine. And the gyms that I'm in, there's no hack squat machine. So otherwise, I would be doing hack squat rather than squatting after I deadlift and bench. Okay, so on day 4, there were a couple new things that I tried. But first of all, my touch and go bench, I was very worried because my over one row single was slower than I expected, and then my 4 sets, the 4 sets before the MRAP was a little harder than I expected, but somehow I was able to get 7 on the MRAP, right? Which is 1 more than the rep target, and I'm very happy with that. But besides that, I didn't record them, but I did some single leg press on my left side only. And I think I'm going to do probably 1 or 2 sets on my right side, but like 3 or 4 sets on my left. Just do a couple more sets on my left side to get my left leg stronger. I will talk to my PT about this to see what he or she thinks, like a new PT, because I am in a new state, right? So I will consult my PT about that, but this is the approach I'm going with. And yeah, so I did some single leg press, and then I did some single leg extensions, right? Just on my left side actually again, but I think I need to do some on my right side so my right side doesn't fall behind. I don't think we'll fall behind, but it's weird to just completely do one side, right? So I'm going to do a couple sets on my right, but a couple more sets on my left side. And then here you see pause squats. Very difficult, but because I'm taking a narrower stance, it wasn't that bad at all, actually. So pause squats, arm wraps are always difficult, but I was able to get through these no problem. And then the other thing I did was, I added the chest supported dumbbell rows. Like I do them on day 3 instead of barbell rows like 2 weeks ago. But now I also added them as of last week. I added them on day 4. But on this day, I added the telly extension, so like the skull crusher plus like a close grip bench press. I added that as a superset to my chest supported dumbbell rows, and those were very hard but doable. But then on day 5, I felt like my close grip was affected by the tricep DOMs or tricep soreness that I was getting from these telly extensions. So I'm actually gonna, I moved the telly extensions to day 2. So day 4, I don't actually do any triceps, just the rows. Because I love doing close grip, and I still want to hit past the rep target, and I don't want doing telly extensions allow me to get 1 less rep on my close grip the next day, right? Because I don't take a rest day between days 4 and 5. But yeah, here's my torture set of 13 reps. I wasn't expecting to get 13 reps. I wanted to get past 10, right, which is the rep target. But I got 13. But as you can see, the more reps I do, even though I'm taking that closer stance on the squat, I am having my hips shoot back a little bit, right? Still doing that, even though my legs are able to be incorporated more. But that's because my back tires out, I think, less or later on this during the set. If I were to take a narrower stance versus a wider stance, if I take a wider stance, my quads just not as not like if I take a wider stance, my quads are just not in the equation as much, and this is why my good morning is more apparent earlier in the set, and that's why I can't do as many reps. So a narrower stance works the best for me, but it's not ideal that I'm pausing like this, honestly, ingraining this motor pattern, but I'm working on that with high bar squats and all these quad movements that I'm doing. And hopefully they will carry over to my low bar squats. So I have had trouble like really getting a pump or my muscle connection or just some tricep fatigue from doing any tricep exercises. Besides, like a while back, I did the overhead tricep extensions, right, where you kind of lean forward and you pull the rope like out. But tele extensions, especially done with a barbell or easy bar, makes my triceps burn during the set and afterwards and the next day, right? And by the way, I found this exercise on a channel called Garage Strength. And also, it's funny, like, during this week, I saw somebody doing this exact exercise the same way, and that guy seemed pretty strong, so it's a very good exercise, and it will be a staple that I'm doing about twice a week now. So here I did 60 pounds for the first set and 70 for the second and third set, which were not recorded, but actually doing week 10, I did 80 pounds. 80 pounds was fine. I did like 10 reps, 8 reps, and 7 reps. I'm going to go around 70 to 80 pounds where I really let my triceps go hard. But yeah, great exercise, and that's day 4. And by the way, I apologize for the camera zooming in. It's my Apple Watch, which controls the recording, and the scroll wheel zoom is being touched like while I'm doing the set. So yeah. So like I talked about, day 5. My triceps were sore on this day because the day before I did those tele extensions, and I was feeling like I was not going to get the 10 rep target, right? And especially this set, I was so disappointed. This is 250, right? Normally I do 255 for over warm-up single, and usually RP 7.5 to 8. This was a 9. And I've never hit a 9 on over warm-up single on this program at all, on anything. Squats, bench, deadlift. So I was very worried, right? But I was able to get 10. I think it's just, there's kind of this mental block that as lifters, we all have to get over it, right? Like your workout might not go as well, but a heavy single is different from an AMRAP set, right? Heavy single, you could misgroove it. The unrack could be wobbly, could be many reasons, right? But I feel like AMRAP, you have less room for error because, especially if it's a lighter weight, right? Like 250 versus 205, even if the 205 is 10 reps, it's still easier in terms of form breakdown, in my opinion, right? And then, yeah, that was close grip bench, which honestly is my favorite bench variation, except for the unrack. I cannot unrack the weight myself on most of these benches for some reason. On some benches than others, though, I can unrack pretty easily, but not those benches. And then sumo deadlifts, they felt decent. I'm really bent over on sumo deadlifts, and I hate being really bent over, but that's what happens when we have short arms relative to your long torso. But that's why I like, that's why I have my comp deadlifts as conventional, right? I can lift 20 pounds more or less on sumo, but it's just more awkward. Also, I'm very happy that I have never missed rep target on sumo deadlifts since the start of the program. I think I never even hit, like I always surpassed it by at least 1, I think. So I'm very happy about that. My training max is like 505, like 506 based on what it says on the spreadsheet. I'm confident I can hit 500 if I was fresh, but I don't know about 505. But anyways, this is week 9. Enjoy the commentary and happy holidays again, and I'm gonna see you guys on week 10. Peace.